Welcome to the 2022 Annual MLK Celebration at Kennesaw State University. This is an important time in the life of KSU each year as we honor a man who, through his own perseverance and actions, bridged racial divides and helped transform the hearts and the minds of our nation. Yet the significance of this day extends far beyond one man. I encourage all of us to reflect inwardly and as a community on how we can continue to live out the ideals exemplified by Dr. King. Dr. King was a man of immeasurable faith and immovable conviction. He warned us that, and I quote, "We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools." When we demonstrate authentic compassion and concern for others, a resolute bond forms among all involved. A unified community emerges, and in that, the chance to become part of something greater than ourselves. I believe this was the heart of Dr. King. It also should be the heart and the aim of KSU. While we had originally planned for this celebration to be in person, I'm grateful that we can host this event virtually on MLK Day. In just a moment, you will hear a performance by KSU Gospel Choir, which is led by Dr. Oral Moses. Throughout the ceremony, you will hear from some of our KSU students, as well as our Interim Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer, Dr. Sonia Tosin. My sincere thanks and gratitude to Justice Verda Colvin of the Georgia State Supreme Court for being our keynote speaker and for helping us to honor the legacy of Dr. King. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope you enjoy this program.
Rejoicing Hello, my name is Daniel Simpson, and I'm the current president of the Tau Zeta chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. It is with great honor that I introduce my brother, Dr. King, the Alpha. In 1952, our illustrious fraternity gained a brother who added prestige and power to the organization, and he fueled the fire that drives our purpose. The scope of this organization is limitlessness, as was the vision possessed by the late, great brother Martin Luther King Jr. Known to the brotherhood as Silent Drummer, the cadence that he set for the black community in the name of Alpha is heard and followed to this day. He was a physical embodiment of the aims of our fraternity, a practitioner of the objectives of this body, and he stood firmly on the mission which serves as the foundation of this house. Dr. King in all his glory understood that not even he was above the fraternity. He took pride in his role as a cog in the machine that is Alpha Phi Alpha, and found no room for pride in the midst of his great works, but rather gave the honor of all of his successes to the fraternity. Brother King was a highly exalted and revered brother, and Brother King is a pillar for everything that this organization stands for, and a symbol of hope and progress for whom this organization pledges to defend and advance. As the light of Alpha shines forever, so does the light of Brother King, and we pray that this light continues to lead us all through the darkness and into the promised land that he fought so hard to guide us to. When we reach that promised land, it will be with our heads held high, mindful of the tools that he gave us to combat our common enemies. Thank you, and may the light of Alpha shine bright on us all.
Hello, my name is Donovan McLean. I serve on the National Board of Directors for Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated as the Southern Regional Assistant Vice President. I'm here to talk to you about Dr. King the Leader. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an exceptional leader. He took over Ebenezer Baptist Church right here in Atlanta in the fall of 1947 at the age of just 18. Ebenezer Baptist Church became the home church for another young preacher who would make history, our Alpha brother, Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock, the first black senator in Georgia's history. It is this very exemplary leadership that inspired many for generations to come. During the war in Vietnam, Reverend Dr. King released a speech on why he opposed the war. He spoke to the black soldiers fighting for a country that they weren't completely free in. He professed that these young black men were guaranteeing liberties in Southeast Asia, which they had not found in Southwest Georgia and East Harlem. He eventually would influence the anti-war attitude and have millions of Americans opposing the war. Citizens all over the country protested the grotesque images they saw in Vietnam. This was a terribly controversial take on the war, for America knew nothing but using the big stick President Roosevelt alluded to, but he stood firmly on his platform and continued to speak. The United States of America sought to discredit Reverend Dr. King, yet his nerves were unwavering. You see, Reverend Dr. King showed no fear when leading these movements. He took each challenge in stride, blow by blow, remaining peaceful. Us Alphas love our poems, and there is one in particular that I cannot go without sharing. Don't Quit, by Author Unknown. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learn, and many a failure turns about when he might have won had he stuck it out. Don't give up though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Often the goal is nearer than it seems to a faint and faltering man. Often the struggler has given up when he might have captured the victor's cup. And he learned too late when the night slipped down how close he was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt. And you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit. Reverend Dr. King never quit. He didn't quit in Selma. He didn't quit in Birmingham, and I trust that all of you will honor Reverend Dr. King by never quitting. We have discussed Dr. King the Alpha, Dr. King the Leader, and now I want to address Dr. King the Man. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a father, a son, a husband, an alpha, and a great man. Throughout his life, he was faced with much adversity and never steered away from the ultimate goal of equality and equity. Being one of the most impactful men in history, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. urgently sought for freedom. Freedom from the binds of a social structure in which minority men and women were forced to live in a divided country. He stepped up after being chosen to lead the civil rights movement during the bus boycotts of 1955 at just 26 years old. This is a man who chose not to pursue a life in entertainment or business or even continuing in the church. He chose to devote his life to his true passion of overcoming the struggles that America had perpetually set against people of color. He was a man who truly did not believe in looking on as something wrong happened right before his eyes. He certainly was not a bystander, but one who lit a fire in the people's hearts. He was able to bring black and white people together in a way that was unheard of at the time. He even opened the eyes of the oppressors of his people. Reverend Dr. King once said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." To all present, please continue to fight against inequality in the best way that you can, and never hold the quality of silence. Thank you.
Welcome. My name is Amani Johnson, and I serve as the current KSU Student Government Association President, and I will be introducing the keynote speaker for the 2022 MLK Legacy Program. Justice Verda M. Colvin grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. She attended Daniel McLaughlin Tharrow High School and earned her bachelor's degree in government and religion from Sweetbriar College in Virginia and her Juris Doctorate from the University of Georgia School of Law. Justice Colvin was appointed to the Supreme Court on July 20th, 2021 by Governor Brian Kemp. She is the first African-American woman appointed by a Republican governor to the state's High Court. She discovered her love for trial work early in her career as an assistant solicitor in Athens, Clarke County. From there, she went on to serve as Assistant General Counsel to Clark Atlanta University and then as Assistant District Attorney in Clayton County. Before becoming a judge, she was an Assistant United States Attorney in the Middle District of Georgia, where she prosecuted a wide range of offenses from drug trafficking to white-collar crime. Judge Colvin is committed to service professionally and personally. In her service on the Supreme Court of Georgia, she currently serves as the Chair of Access to Justice Committee and is a member of several organizations and boards and has won a host of awards and honors for her leadership. Among her numerous awards and honors are the Leah Ward Sears Award for Distinction in the Profession in 2019, the Tradition of Excellence Award as a judge by the General Practice and Trial Section of the State Bar of Georgia in 2019, and the Young Lawyer Division of the State Bar of Georgia Distinguished Judicial Award for 2020-2021. In addition to her work in the field, Justice Colvin has served as an adjunct professor at Mercer School of Law, and she is a member of the First Baptist Church, where she serves as a children's Sunday school teacher and on the Women's Ministry Leadership Team. We will now hear from our keynote speaker for the 2022 MLK Legacy Program, Justice Verda M. Colvin.
I am honored to have been invited to speak to you, the Kennesaw State University students, faculty, and friends. I would like to thank Mr. McGee for his kind direction and guidance to ensure my presence here today with you. I feel fortunate to address you in this celebration, a reflection and remembrance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a life that was a gift to our nation and to the world at large. I am especially honored to spend time reflecting on the legacy of Dr. King, because he is one of my two idols. Even as I grew up as a young girl in Atlanta, I was enamored by his legacy. I have always been in awe of the life and sacrifice of Dr. King. In my mind, he led an exemplary life, a life of service, service above self. I grew up feeling that for me, that was my purpose, to give of myself in the service of others. That's the legacy of Dr. King. He found himself by losing himself in the service of others. This idea of losing oneself in the service of others is how he came to term the beloved community, which is a community in which everyone is cared for. A beloved community is devoid of poverty, hunger, and certainly hate. Dr. King intentionally worked to create the beloved community through his coordinated efforts to improve the lives of all minorities, especially African American, women, and the poor. He did so by having 6 specific areas of focus for change: poverty, better jobs with higher wages, decent housing, quality education, justice, and peace. What was lost on many at the time is that these platforms for change really benefited all people, regardless of race, economic status, even nationality. I understand that the majority of the students under the sound of my voice were born 32 to 35 years after Dr. King's death. But isn't it disturbing to you as students that after more than 3 decades, the same specific areas of focus for Dr. King are the very same issues that face us today in 2022? Poverty, decent employment and higher wages, decent housing, quality education, justice, and peace. While America is revered for its advanced economies, its technology, entertainment, military, and universities, we are still pledged with much work to do to live up to Dr. King's vision of parity for all throughout our country and, in fact, throughout the world. According to a Forbes report dated November 4th, 2021, even as one of the richest countries in the world, 13.4% of the national population in the United States of America lives in poverty. This equates to more than 42.5 million Americans living below the poverty line. Of course, poverty is antithetical to decent housing. Habitat for Humanity has proven that decent housing can in fact lead to a life out of poverty. Brookings reported in July 2021 that low-wage earners comprise 43% of the workforce. More than a year into the pandemic, they comprise 52% of those displaced. These individuals are among the very people that Dr. King sought to help: women, people of color, and those with low levels of education. We are fortunate to live in a country where our educational system is considered to be the best in the world. However, we know communities within our vast country that are economically disadvantaged and marginalized, and many times have less than ideal educational systems. In fact, underperforming. This should not be in the United States of America, a country that is ranked as #1 for education in the world by U.S. News Report in 2021. The theme I understand for this auspicious occasion is creating a beloved, inclusive, and respectful community. It truly starts with me. That's the tagline. The ideal of a beloved, inclusive, and respectful community must continue to be an aspiration that you, each of you, vow to continue, regardless of your discipline of study or choice of career. This ensures that the legacy of Dr. King continues and is a constant aspiration that we continually strive to achieve, recognizing that change has always happened incrementally. Creating a beloved community requires a focus on Dr. King's platform of justice and peace. Justice, simply put, is respect for human rights. It is said that respect for human rights is a precondition for peace. See, these concepts were elusive in the 60s. They were theories that we were exploring as a nation. Justice was the driving force for the movement led by Dr. King. We collectively have worked hard to attempt to bring these concepts of justice and peace into our daily existence. However, in many ways, in 2022, they are still elusive. Concepts, theories that we speak of, but yet struggle to hold them in our hearts and souls. Until these aspirational goals can collectively be housed in our hearts, they are like stars that appear so close, but yet are galaxies away. I am convinced that Dr. King would remind each of us, if he were still among us, that perhaps the only way we can achieve justice for all, peace on earth, is if we embrace and cultivate what it means to be humankind. Mankind, humankind, is defined as human beings considered collectively, the human race, if you will. Today and moving forward, I'd like to suggest that we live with the spirit of Dr. King and concentrate on that second part of the word, mankind, namely kind. Imagine a place where people, not Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, American Indian, Pacific Islander, the list goes on. But imagine if all people mattered, if we saw each other as we are, sisters and brothers in the struggle to live life in its fullness. How different might our country be? How different might our nation be at this very moment? Dr. King predicted that unconditional love will have the final word. We will indeed rise or fall depending on our ability to recognize that our destinies are intertwined. I think Dr. King was totally on point. Imagine, if you will, just imagine a society where everyone has what they need. Imagine, if you will, if equity was a priority and opportunity was available for everyone. Can you close your eyes for just a moment, a brief moment, and imagine what it might feel like if everyone could pursue their wildest dreams that benefit mankind, the human race, and not just the individual? That's what Dr. King shared in his last speech of his life. I've been to the mountaintop. The view he saw as he looked over the mountaintop was a society where justice, prosperity for all, peace, education, housing, and respectable work were flowing for all. In his words, that was the promised land. That vision, the promised land that Dr. King said he saw as he looked over the mountaintop, that is what has inspired me throughout my life, my career, my journey, and my work as a jurist. When I was young, I thought how deep, how moving it was that someone would dedicate their life to a people and a nation for its betterment, for a hopeful future that seemed like only a dream. I thought, imagine if every person gave of themselves like that. We might have a semblance of what he called the promised land, even here in our imperfect land. Symbolically, I raised my hand and I decided I wanted to truly have a life of service. I had this crazy idea that if I devoted my work, my life to trying to better institutions and people and share ideals for a society we aspire to be, that if I did that, if I could do a small part to help cultivate a better society, perhaps my life would not be in vain. I started my legal career by doing what I thought was the only course for serving others in an effort to seek justice. I served as a defense attorney, representing people who face the criminal justice system. That was rewarding, and I had personal success, but I learned that that was not the only way to ensure justice. I haphazardly stumbled into prosecution. There, in that role, I learned that the initial journey toward justice is in the hands of those who determine if someone is even charged and prosecuted. As a prosecutor, I truly embraced the philosophy of Dr. King, that it is not possible to be in favor of justice for some people and not in favor of justice for all people. That is the philosophy I maintained during my years in prosecution, both state and federal prosecution. I held true to that philosophy when I became a judge in Superior Court, the court of general jurisdiction. I also remembered the heart of Dr. King's message on justice. Justice should look the same for anyone and everyone coming within our judicial system. This stance, coupled with the words of Bryan Stevenson, rang through my mind and heart throughout my judicial service. Namely, each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. Again, each of us are more than the worst thing we've ever done. That thought and the philosophy of Dr. King allowed me to see people, to meet them where they were as I devised what I thought would be best for them, to allow them the opportunity to move from where they were as they faced me as a judge to becoming the best version of themselves. As a jurist, I am always mindful to see people, to really see them. I have continued to do that on our appellate courts, both the Court of Appeals as well as now in my service on the Georgia Supreme Court. I see the litigants and their attorneys, even though I am relegated to only reading transcripts and hearing from appellate counsel during oral arguments. Still, I am ever mindful of the words of my idol, Dr. King, that one should never be more devoted to order than to justice. Dr. King's legacy and following his commitment to a life of service has been the mantra for my life, my work, and ultimately my joy. His example of service should inspire each of us, regardless of our chosen profession, to work toward serving professionally and/or personally to significantly reduce poverty, aspire to ensure that every able body has decent work and housing while providing education of the highest quality, all of which ultimately leads to justice for all and peace among mankind. I'm going to pose questions to you now that were similar to the ones that Dr. King posed to the congregation the night before they were to march in support of fair treatment of the sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee, the same night that he gave his last speech before his untimely death. I've been to the mountaintop. The question I pose to each of you today is not what you might lose or forego by serving others. The question is not what benefit would you gain in losing yourself in the service of others. Instead, one question is, if you do not find a way to serve others, what will happen to this place we call these United States of America? The second question becomes, if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Who will serve, and what type of nation, what world will you leave for the future generations, your children and your children's children? That's the questions I have for you today. Those are the questions you must ask yourself throughout your career and your life. I'm depending on your generation like never before to help us as a nation to achieve the aspirations of Dr. Martin Luther King. You must take us from the current disarray to a place of equity, inclusion, and respect. If you will vow to do so, then we will have the beloved community that Dr. King saw when he was given the opportunity to look over the mountaintop. If you will do that, then perhaps we will get to the promised land. Help us get there, because you, students, you are the future, and you can get us much further than where we currently are. Thank you, and it has been a pleasure to share with each and every one of you. I wish you well, I wish you success, but most of all, I wish you a heart for service.
Thank you for joining us for our 2022 MLK celebration at Kennesaw State University. We are grateful to all who participated in today's event, including our students, faculty, staff, and those from the community who've taken the time to join us. We are particularly honored to have had Justice Verda Colvin join us. I'm inspired by her call to imagine a world where everyone has an equal opportunity to pursue their wildest dreams. Can we imagine a world where we all work toward Dr. King's dream of justice, peace, and service every single day? As we close today's program, we encourage you to join us in honoring the legacy of Dr. King by engaging in service to others. In the words of Dr. King, life's most pertinent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? We hope you've enjoyed our program, and we thank you again for joining us today.